Hello and welcome to the Armenian News Network Groong Week in Review. This show was recorded on January 24, 2023. I'm Asbed Bedrossian and I'm here with Hovik Manucharyan, and here are the major topics we'll touch on today. A catastrophic fire at an army barracks in Azad village in the Barracks region killed 15 soldiers and severely burned 3 more. We talked a little bit about the military aspects of this with Karen Vardanyan 2 days ago, but this horrible accident can stand a lot more discussion in Armenian society. The EU approved a new civilian mission of 100 monitors on the existing line of contact between Armenia and Azerbaijan. What is the purpose of this mission, and whose interests does it serve? And we'll also talk about how this is all affecting the Russian-Armenian and Iranian-Armenian relations. Finally, we'll get some impressions of Ruben Vardanyan's interview on BBC's HARDtalk. To talk about these issues, we have with us Tevan Poghosyan, who is president of the International Center for Human Development. Mr. Poghosyan was an MP in the National Assembly between 2012 and 2017 from the Heritage Party. From 1997 to 1999, he served as the Nagorno-Karabakh Public Affairs Director in Washington, D.C. Welcome back to the show, Tevan. Great to talk with you.
Hello, Tevan.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the invitation.
Always welcome. All right, on to our first topic. Sometime between 12:30 and 1 a.m. on January 19th, a fire broke out in the military barracks housing a company of sappers in the Armenian army in Barracks province. The fire quickly spread, and as a result, 15 men died, and 3 who escaped were severely injured. A couple of days ago, we talked with military expert Karen Vardanyan about this horrible accident and its causes and effects. Today, maybe we can take it up from the social and political aspects, what this event means for the Pashinyan government, and also how the Armenian population is dealing with this loss. Interestingly, the first theories we heard were from Pashinyan and Defense Minister Suren Babikyan in the morning of the 19th, at which time investigations had barely started, let alone completed. The main theory provided by these guys is that the captain of the company set his hands on fire as he poured gasoline from a canister into the heater. He dropped the canister, setting the barracks on fire. The door got jammed, preventing people from fleeing. The government, including representatives of the investigative committee, say that there are other theories also being investigated. Yet for some reason, this gasoline theory is being broadcast loudly before the investigation is complete. So the question, Tevan, is, does this main working theory sound plausible to you? And why would you announce about this confidently everywhere in media if the investigation is still ongoing?
First of all, let's express our condolences to the families. And it has been really one of the horrible cases within the all general, let's say, December time. Even for the one day, it has shadowed Artsakh blockade issue because everyone was shocked with the situation in the numbers. Imagine if it's 1 or 2, but it's 15 and the whole group.
It's awful.
It's awful. And the problem is here that in reality, Armenia is truly today representing fully, let's say, best version of failed state logic, as there is no any political consequences related to such case. What I mean, instead, as you're mentioning about investigation or guiding towards some scenarios, in the real normal country, we will see resignations of at least Minister of Defense, of some other political institutions within the ministries or the positions. I would say that self-resignations, at least to write the resignation paper. And after that, for example, the Prime Minister or someone would say that we will investigate and we'll deal with that. But in reality, there would be this kind of a paper without saying which scenario is happening. But unfortunately, we are representing the reality which we living is that no one is caring from the political logic of responsibility. No one is caring from the human logic of responsibility and from the logic of the dignity of my own sworn as a minister. See, according to Armenian constitution, all ministries bringing up oaths saying that I am responsible for this political field and I will do everything to fully serve to my country. Now, I perfectly understand that investigation should be planning on all possible scenarios. Like no matter if even would someone will tell that, something like this happened, we need to understand that we're living in a wartime. And based on this, place is very close to the enemy positions, which could be some logic of some terrorist stuff. This could be one scenario. Check it, nothing is there, cancel that scenario, but never give up on checking all the possible scenarios. Then something who was really problematic, because I perfectly could understand that maybe after some actions in 2001 and in 2020 and 2021, the situation happened like that they need to use some possibilities in a village with some houses. I can perfectly understand that using that kind of a logic could be solution, temporary, very short solution. But at least if it's already there for a few months, some special other services should go and check hygienic situation, the heating situation, logistical situation, all the necessary points over which any military unit should be fixed up to the proper conditions for soldiers to be able to have their duty on that position. Now, without checking all the possibilities and without anything saying, we having a scenario over which is coming to the point that even if everything was there and it was possible to really have some fight with fire, but scenario presented in a way that it's never been a possibility to secure or to properly deal with the situation. Now it's coming to point, who is the one who appointed the officer, the person who is not even knows that, for example, using gasoline in the wood heating system has really problems over its possibility to be used. Who is responsible for appointing that guy? Because what we have been informed that now there's a special testing system before appointing someone there. Like who allowed this appointment? Who named the guys for these positions? Why is that situation? Why nothing is there to properly use? When we, for example, having another responsible person interview who has been saying we always use paper for putting a fire for wood, never use the gasoline.
Right.
And
right.
Nothing is properly checked there. But the most problematic stuff, that political responsibility for the whole situation is no one has been taken care. Just let's fire some officers. And that's all. Nothing would even. And if you're looking, some officers, guys, you cannot cut the head for the whole district responsibility or like military responsible people for the whole Mars, which took place.
Basically, the entire leadership of the 2nd Army Corps was removed by the time we heard the news. You mentioned about political responsibility, but these are all military leaders. And you seem to imply that it's not a good idea to do that. Can you expand a little bit more on that? And also, maybe tell us whose responsibility is it? Because, the Armenian military is split up between the Ministry of Defense, which is the political side, and the General Staff, which controls the army and so forth, which is the military side. So who is responsible for supplying the units? Who's responsible for ensuring where they live? How is that responsibility divided?
Can I add one more thing to Hovik? I completely agree with you, Tevan, that there's no sense of ownership in these problems. In fact, Alen Simonian has excluded any kind of political responsibility on the part of the defense minister.
Definitely this is the situation over which I'm saying that we are living in a failed state. Because number one who should demand political responsibility here is the chairman of National Assembly, which is the number one mandate holding institution. We are not anymore electing president. We are not anymore electing prime minister. We're electing National Assembly.
Mm-hmm.
And they are the number one who is caring about what kind of a government they put in there. And they need to be the one who demanding political responsibility. Because criminal responsibility, or let's say the other responsibility should be, we need to put demand towards the executive. They have the institutions of investigation. I do believe if something like this would happen, for example, in US, in the Congress, there would be immediately scrutiny committee put it on, and the whole political investigation would be going on without caring what is the dealing there with the criminal cases, with the internal army investigation, with the all other stuff, because there should be a political also part.
Right.
Of situation there. And now, when you're saying about the split, yes, this was a plan to have a split. But as you remember, a few months ago, they have the new changes. And now the militaries or the chief of staff of militaries is the first deputy for the minister, which meaning that if previously he has something like being directly appointed that position, and then it would be a separate institutional kind of a logic of responsibility. Now, no, he's a deputy of the Ministry of Defense. And there is a one political responsible person for the whole military. If even we're having a militaries with their military part of the responsibility, but there's also one political responsibility person in the whole field. And his name is Tevan Poghosyan. Again, see, like, they do the investigation and find out that at least Tevan Poghosyan don't have any problem. But where is his political dignity? Where is his human dignity? Put the self-resignation and let prime minister will not accept it and says that, no, you're going and continuing your service. I fully agree on that kind of a scenario, but we need to introduce this institution. Remember, like, why Boris Johnson put his resignation? Because of a year or 2 years ago, they found out that during the COVID time, he has been using drink in one companies, and they found. Now, no one has died on that day. Nothing has been destroyed. No real threat to British security in general happened, but the person has put it his resignation. This is my point, over which you have similar 1,000 cases in the US, where congressmen, senators, ministers, governors, prosecutor officers, whenever they have the feeling this dignity issue or really political point of failing even on having a one secret document loss, or I don't know, using personal email for some security document sending or something, they are resigning immediately.
Yes.
This is developed situation. And if there is no political responsibility, then we perfectly understand that there wouldn't be an investigation which would be really trustworthy on the logic of that real responsible people will be caught and kind of having the proper punishment.
Tevan, the other aspect, you analyze public communication, you talk about that a lot, and strategic communication. I want to ask, what is so as far as I'm aware, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the list, even the list of the people who died has not been officially disclosed, just like the list of people who died in the September war has not been disclosed. Why not do that? What is so secret about that? Also, why hasn't there been a public...
Do you think that it's about secrecy? I don't think that it's about secrecy. State institutions are not working properly. If you're going and saying who was there, maybe they would not be having a proper...
So you think incompetence?
It's incompetence. And why bringing the names? Because the names are really concentrating on the logic of the concreteness. And this government is doing everything that it will be chaotic. No concrete situation. Let this nation wait for the names long time. When 1 or 2 few days would pass, some other, let's say, public agendas would come, some other institutions would come, and the case will not be so sharp.
The other thing is there is no public mourning as of yet. I mean, it's just amazing. It's a very very big tragedy, but why not set up a period of public mourning again? I mean, what is the point?
These people, well, Hovik, this government didn't announce public mourning even for the case of September 2022. 224 guys has died during the military actions. They didn't use even for that term. Remember when they really put the public mourning for the end of for the aggression from Azerbaijan? It's been months ago or something like this. As of today, they are really trying to show that what is going on, it's not nothing national. It's not nothing about us. It's just a simple accidents that it's happened. Who knows why we need to do it? Because anytime when there is a public mourning, it's a raising issue of who is the responsible. It's another point to show that they are not responsible, because if that case would be remembered, next year everyone would be remembering about this, and every day that would be saying, as less we remember about what's negative happened yesterday, they are much easily living today. It's a kind of a newspaper logic. Whatever printed yesterday is not having any connections with the logic of that. It's a like series, movie of series. When you're having a seasons and 365 series of that season. In 2 years' time, you never would remember what has been happening like in the season 1, series 221.
Right.
So like it's a logic of how to make that the memory of public would be staying no longer than 24 hours. And any event or any memorable event from negative and from positive side is a problem for them. Let's say like next year, everyone would be speaking about New Year Eve salute on the Republic Square, on New Year elimination of the city, but everyone would not remember that, for example, they used their 750,000 US dollars for that event, when it's possible to use, for example, even $500,000, but $250,000 be sent to the army for much more improving the situations with the soldiers staying there. This is just a small point. Instead of that, it's better to not use or not having given elimination. Or okay, like do $50,000 elimination. 100, but send the other amounts on the other places. This is a specifically targeted approach to keep up people with the show and not bringing something negative that next day they would say that what kind of a political responsibility? Who said that it's Papikan's problem? It's the others.
Yeah.
And second, this is the case over which, for example, this happened. Let's use this case to punish more military people, and Armenia would be deprived of the army. What is direct order from Aliyev to Armenian nation? He is the few times said that Armenians are not deserve to have an army, and Armenians need to always live that they are inferior and losers. This was Aliyev's instruction, and this is what's happening in our life.
Surely, I mean, I think some people who still support Pashinyan would say, are you seriously alleging that Pashinyan is implementing Aliyev's orders? How can we come to a rational decision on that? Can you do a little more, to explain for us that aspect?
Let's us look at this. Who is the one dreaming about Armenia fully eliminated from the world. Our enemies. Who is the ones asking Armenians should not have an army? Now I'm taking, who is doing the steps that Armenian army losing and really failing? Pashinyan. Okay, if there is no even direct phone order over this, but then explain me why its dream and wish of Aliyev is coming to the life, and who is supporting to this. I remember in 2021, June, we have an election here, and on next day, I said that today, elections, as a result of all Armenians behaving during that elections, as a result, we have happy 80 million Turks, happy 10 million Azeris, and happy maybe 2,000 Armenians who would get the positions in the government.
Right.
No one would be any more happy. This is a result. I'm discussing from the result side. The process is a process, but finally, end of any process is a result. What kind of a result we have? Why are we saying that all our policies should be result-oriented? If there is no result, then the whole your process is a problem.
Okay, let's move on to another major topic, which is the EU Council yesterday on January 23 or thereabouts approved a new mission to Armenia. The new mission will be for 2 years and will include 200 armed monitors.
Borrell today already said it only 100.
Only 100. So previously they had a temporary mission, which was only 40 people for 2 months. Now it's 100 people for 2 years. What is the purpose of this mission if during the previous one we didn't see any reports, we didn't see at least reduction in terms of violations? For instance, there was a major wounding, I believe, of an Armenian soldier, and there are no public reports from the mission. What is the purpose of this mission, in your opinion?
See, like it's sent by EU, which meaning that it's serving to the interest of EU. If tomorrow US would send a mission, it would be serving to the interest of US. Now, all of the things is the following. Political presence here. EU is trying to say that I'm in a region. And it's only like this because it's civilian. They're saying that it's civilian mission, which meaning that nothing adding to the security, real security, because in Armenia, we have conventional threat. Our threat is real. It's shooting, it's occupying land, it's blockade, or everything. We are living in a conventional, traditional threat, and security which we needed is about soldiers, guns, and everything which will not allow something to happen. I've been many times saying that the guy sitting in the village of Azad, Azar is starting to shoot. What is his action of that civilians? Be it 1 or 2 people. Maximum, they would take the phone and call Brussels. I don't know what Brussels be doing, but until they would do, Azad village will not be existing. This is the point over which we need to perfectly saying, guys, it's monitors. They would contribute to security only in the case if they properly reporting for the actions in the case if something happening. In other way, it's just a political presence. And this political presence, it's in reality, when we're taking the situation, it's or against Russia or against Iran. Doesn't matter.
In fact, that was my next question. Lavrov recently expressed caution about this move, saying that if Azerbaijan against this mission, then it may create some problems. Can you explain and comment on how this may affect Armenia's relations with Iran or Russia? What is the EU's goal, and what may be in terms of Iran and Russia, what potential repercussions could it have for Armenia's relations with its neighbors?
So like we have a political mission, which meaning that it has been having a political implications. And on these political implications, being present, watching, getting information, something like this, is there always a matter of, for any country, to accept and spread a lot of security institutions to control or do those things, which meaning that for Iran, is like, what's these guys doing here? What they calculating, what they're reporting, why they are not communicating, If it's properly strong country, then they would be forced to send additional special services to having a spying on the situation and so on. It's a big headache, plus it's a political pressure on many issues. That's why countries who have an interest in the ground really expressing concerns what this means, because in other way, if Armenian government properly presenting the situation and there is no any security logic, then these countries will not be against. The best of this described by Pashinyan himself in his last press conference. See, like we're having a Russian military base in Armenia, 102nd military base. It's here starting from 1996, officially, even if it has been since the Soviet. Logic of the why the military base is here has been because at that time Prime Minister Ozal said that it's time to show our teeth to Armenia for blah, blah, blah. And it has been a security, and we go and sign immediately a lot of other stuff. Now, Pashinyan in his last interview has been saying that, see, like Turkey and Azerbaijan going in other places and saying that because the Russians' military base is there, they can take revenge and do something. That's why we're considering that the Russian military base is security threat. Now, if Pashinyan is perfectly understanding the logic of Azerbaijan against Russia, which is having a military base here, isn't it the same that, for example, Iran, who has a really odd relationship with Europe, or Russia, which is in an open confrontation in Ukraine, accepting more presence of EU in Armenia?
Right.
Same logic, nothing is there. Guys, if you're really explaining them why Azerbaijan could think like this, then you need to perfectly understand that Russia and Iran also could think like this. But you're going and inviting them. And you're saying that this invitation is contributing to my security. And the Russian presence is not contributing. Now, with whom thinking I need to be more concerned? In reality, I would need to say that, guys, I am much more concerned with my friends' thinking, not my enemy thinking.
Yeah.
Who is the friend of Pashinyan? Azerbaijan, that is much more concerned of this. For the normal Armenians, maybe not friend, but at least not enemies are Russia and Iran. And Azerbaijan is an enemy. That's why I'll not be concerned with the Azerbaijan thinking. But I need to take care of the thinking of Iran and Russia.
Tevan, let's drill down into the relations with Russia a little bit deeper. First, I want to talk about recent statements made by Russian Foreign Ministry. Starting from the very top, Lavrov and Zakharova have basically dropped hints in their public statements that the Armenian side is not being honest with its public about previously made agreements. I want to go a little bit more detailed and say, for instance, Zakharova in a QA session on January 12th said that there are principled positions, not tactical, not even strategic, but matters of principle about which the Armenian side is not honest about. And she further expanded that there are agreements that people either observe, or if they don't observe, then they need to explain that their approaches have changed. But this needs to be done honestly and publicly with one's own people. Certain Armenian analysts have interpreted this to be a reference to yet undisclosed verbal agreements by Pashinyan from November 9 and 10. Do you know what agreements is the Russian side referring to? Or can we analyze and get a little more concreteness in that?
Maybe not concretely we can guess, but let's do the logic again, just simply in a proper relationship of the countries. Doesn't matter if it's Russia and Armenia, and then try to see what we have here in the concrete case of Russia. Two countries. If there is a one country's foreign ministry speaking, it's speaking from its own country interest. Lavrov and Zakharova would be always speaking on the interest of Russia and not caring about anyone else, be it even Armenia or US or someone else. Now, with all this having in our hands, now let's say that what's going on Armenian side. I don't see and never heard that, for example, immediately after these press conferences, there would be any feedback, answer, or some reply to Russian positions, to saying that there is no any other secret things to exist, which meaning that something is there. Now, if we considering that Russia use its real own interest proportional tool and hit it in a direction that goes, you are not honest with your nation, and there is no feedback or any reply from Armenian side, meaning there are something. There are something over which we need to guess what it could be. But what is the real agreement is mean about very important issue. What is important in Armenia? It's Sunik or Artsakh or Gelarkunik or Taush or some. It should be on that level over which Russia, having its bad, negative, positive policies, they use the all possibilities. They shoot out the all bullets on diplomatic level. And that's why they're using, and they start to use not diplomatic speaking warning, opening up the secrets.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's the lessons to Russia. Let them understand what they done so many mistakes previously. They don't have any other tool to go with such situation. Because previously they've been always saying the allies need to resolve their issues by phones, by internal discussions, and not going with the public statements. But they see that from Armenia, they've been making public statement, like Nikol Pashinyan has been openly accusing. They also start to openly accuse. After these openly accusations, which meaning that something is there, because from Armenian side, there could be a simpler reply. We don't have anything secret that we hasn't said already to our nation.
Yeah, there's been no response.
Yes, if I would heard that from Pashinyan or from anyone said that we are so interesting, let Zakharova present that secret stuff. We're so much interesting in this and let them do because everything said, I would understand that nothing is there. But because of the silence, and if you can notice less and less publicly after that Armenian state officials accusing Russia, which has been a daily point previously to that, which meaning that something is there. And something is there is not the good one, and it's a big one. But it's really the worst situation. I'm not really getting happy of this situation. It's not about saying that I'm politically glad someone accused this one or someone do like this one. See like how they hit it, these guys. It's about our nation, which meaning that we are in a very negative situation, that war over which we are living even now could again to have some resumptions in aggressive measures in the near future.
On that note, Tevan, let's also, on the note of the Armenian and Russian relations, to be precise, let's also talk about, essentially, it seems like almost all elements of the Armenian state, all public representatives of Armenian state seem to be on the first page. We've seen Arat Mirzoyan, the foreign minister, speak out against Russia. We've seen Nikol Pashinyan. And most recently, Armenia's president, Vahagan Khachaturian, visited Estonia. And in his speech, basically, he says something like, Estonia is a small country, but due to its membership of NATO, it has been able to gain protection from the alliance and therefore ensure its security. But he further complained that Armenia has not been able to get help from its military allies, including, I guess, Russia and the CSTO, despite sort of having some expectations. And he added this ominous note at the end, saying that nothing stays the same forever, and throughout time, there will always be a necessity to change something. I hate to ask you to second guess or try to explain to us more clearly a vaguely worded public statement from an Armenian official, but I think we must, because this is a serious issue concerning Armenia's security. What was Khachaturian alluding to? Is this further confirmation that essentially the current leadership of Armenia is on full course forward in a direction away from Russia in terms of foreign relations?
In reality, they're acting, and the result of this is showing like, yes. The problem is that after all that statements, you have also the French senator visiting Armenia, or the head of the French Senate. will make much more, I would say, pro-Azerbaijani, but not
and more specific.
Specifically not pro-Armenian statement. But after that, we also reading that thank you to Albania and Great Britain, Russia and blah, 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 UN resolution is not possible. But I'm interested in Albania and Great Britain because they are both NATO countries. Remember the point over which Aliyev jokingly has been saying, we have much more friends in CSTO than Armenia. I don't know, but in reality, why Armenia is thinking that the same Azerbaijan don't have even twice more friends in NATO than any country would be friendly with us. Now, you went to Estonia, you make a statement. How much it contributed to the situation on the ground? Has Estonia accepted that all Estonian banks closing anything with Azerbaijan? No. Has Estonia sent that, guys, next day I'm sending a humanitarian airplane to Stepanakert, and if Azerbaijan would shoot Estonian humanitarian aid, we'll see how NATO would act against Azerbaijan. So it's meaning that we're doing statements, which is not giving any positive result to us with the countries with whom it's possible to do something on the ground. And it would remain just simply statements with the living and negative attitude towards the other countries. For Estonians, it has been nothing. I wouldn't be even thinking that in Estonian newspapers they cited Wagner Khachaturian. I don't know for whom it has been said. In reality,
yeah, it's a show.
If it's show just to show that, see, guys, we have an alternative, it's not there. As I said, Azerbaijan has in NATO twice more friends and real friends. One of them is Turkey. Should I name the others? Great Britain, Albania. If the Italy previously has much more pro-Armenian positions, now it's much more pro-Azerbaijani. Czech Republic, Romania, Hungary, how many other countries to name? It's both about EU and NATO. If the issue is about the paper, maybe paper would be on the table. But in reality, who would take that paper in the hand and say that I'm going to implement it to the real life? Nothing. That's why I don't know in reality. First of all, what this visit give to Armenia? If it would be in Brussels, meeting with thousands of Brussels various institutions, yes. But Estonians will not come here for the investment. And I don't know what we're doing there.
Yeah, it's hard to think of any real least, tangible benefits.
Still, if it's at least trip to Baltic states, let it say Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, I would say that maybe there is a logic. At least in Lithuania, in the parliament, we have a friendship group of Nagorno-Karabakh and Lithuania. At least we have something much more pro-Armenian there. If he would go there and meet the people and ask them to do something, I will still have the case that some clue that something is happening. But if we're visiting to Estonia just because Taivo Clare is Estonian by its origin, I don't think that it's something positive because the guy is much more keeping up pro Azerbaijani position than anything pro Armenian.
I'm going to move us to our final topic, which is Ruben Vardanyan's interview with BBC HARDtalk. Hopefully, we've all seen that discussion already. What was your overall impression of the conversation?
I would say that if you're taking, say, I do believe that you both perfectly knows what's meaning giving an interview. Even now, it's one thing when it's a live interview, one thing over the Zoom, and it's totally different thing when you are in the room looking to the camera and you don't have even video what's going on in a studio of interviewer. Now, we saw that it's meaning that Ruben Vardanyan has been hearing the question and trying to put the correct answer. I think what he's performed has been much more in a positive logic that we have one issue and it's about Artsakh, and I'm not going on to give up on this. From that side, it has been really positive. I think he's performed in a really positive manner. For some questions over which many people has been accusing, it hasn't been answered strong. He forget to mention this, he forget to mention that. I would kind of have an advice, guys. Let's open up a national school of answering on the national issues.
Yeah.
Let's have, for example, if you're understanding this is a really need, let's do the big national exercise, putting a lot of questions and having the developing one answers and speaking as a nation one voice. Maybe it would be really positive. I'm not joking. Kind of a things over which we can really do that. Being diaspora, being Armenia, being Artsakh, being a different professional fields, we're having a one same similar answer to the similar question about countries. And that could be a really part. But it's also a few positive things over which I've been thinking it's very important. First of all, I hope that after this interview, in the whole Armenian agenda, we will stop to talk about Great Britain as a something
as a friend,
kind of a, not friend even on the positive level, like British company really contributed to making a case of ecologists for blockading. They have this purchase of the land which has been captured, and I do believe that Britain has full information to inform their strong and high position, former high position guys, that guys, whatever you're buying, are you serious? It's in Nagorno-Karabakh Republic, is this territory, what you are doing? You are contributing to the case that one day you would come to Azerbaijan and say that, where is my mine? And what is your offer? They would start to shoot Russian peacekeepers and Armenian population of Artsakh Republic, that they would clean up your mines for you. And British government perfectly knows about all these cases.
Of course.
Stephen Stacker kind of opened up the face or thrown the mask from the face of the British policy.
Mm-hmm.
And that they have one only interest, Russia-Ukraine confrontation. That's all. Nothing is there, and they definitely support.
Well, Tevan, he was clearly, Stephen Stacker was clearly fishing for some pro-Western declarations from the part of Vardanyan. But Vardanyan didn't get drawn into commenting on conflicts that are completely out of scope.
I don't believe that he has been really fishing from pro-Western. He has been trying to get confirmation of acquisitions of Russians, mm-hmm. which doesn't mean that it's pro-Western. It's an acquisition, but there was also 2 points over which it would be interesting. He used very strongly about bringing a difference between Armenian ruling government and Artsakh position. Twice repeated about this.
Right.
And I do believe that he's really strongly contributed to the division between Armenians there. Second, he used 2 experts' names. And in reality, I know these experts well, and I've read their articles and statements. The context overall was there how he used that sentences. But in all the cases, he nicely picked up that sentences and tried to show that we know how to use you against you and divide you. We are to put the divisions between Armenians, and specifically when you're going with the names, it's a very, very provocative and personal issues.
Mm-hmm.
And now out of this, I think there's a very good point about the lessons. I don't believe that ruling government would learn their lessons, but at least I hope that on expert and social level, from now on, people need to think twice what to write, how it could be used, and not allow that it would be used against us. At least for any future government, I would wish that they would start to learn on how to answer on the very hard, difficult issues on the national level. And from this side, I also consider that Ruben Vardanyan was able to break up a bit stereotype of speaking on HARDtalk. Because in Armenian nation, in reality, we have 2 previous cases on HARDtalk with Zorab Natsakanyan and Nikol Pashinyan. And both of them has been really living very negative ideas of how our representatives perform there. First time, Ruben Vardanyan broke that stereotype. It hasn't been maybe the best in the world about which we can dream, but at least we need to consider that it has been much more positive than anything else. And
Yeah, I did not think
think
that Vardanyan came off negative at all. He came off rather positive and caring, I thought.
Yeah, and I think on that regard, now is turn not to discuss what has been said or what has been maybe forgotten to be said, but to go and start how we will be using this interview for making our cases. The same with the logic of what kind of equations, like the world. We're talking about blockade, you're talking about Ukraine. We're
Right.
talking about caring about the people who are facing catastrophe. You bringing us to your personal small issues. And at least I think there are some possibilities to use this interview to show how it would be important for us to understand and put it in a much positive matter for Artsakh and Karabakh. At least we now need to work on this, and I think it's a really good informational weapon, but everything is dependent on how it would be used.
Okay, we're going to leave it there today, Tevan. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time you're taking to talk with us.
Thank you, Tevan.
Thank you for the invitation, and I wish you all the best.
That's our show this week. We hope you found it informative. Now go find us on social media and follow us. We'll talk to you next week.